Just real quick.
Because it's wood.
Easily identifiable.
Oh, okay, okay, all right.
Had to weld up a whole
better than
new
trying to
one.
read
Yeah,
through
it would get painted.
Okay, wonderful, thank you.
Yeah. I'm very picky about what I use for my glasses.
Oh, yeah.
Here tonight.
I've got your fingers involved. You really don't want to start going down this path. But I think having social media.
And I know she's gonna,
We're recording.
that's for one.
I'm on test mode.
That first stuff didn't happen all of a sudden. Just like at the map. On the freeway, off the freeway. Not like the same as the Ridge.
Hello, how are you?
Where's Travis tonight?
Oh, okay. It's not gonna hold itself on the sidewalk. Because I know
Congratulations.
it's nice when
Person table.
Yes. Right, right. So, yeah, so just not even say anything about him? Okay. Okay. 7:00 PM, and if everyone would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If everyone would please silence their cell phone. And Ms. Ripp, would you call to order, or would you do the roll call, please?
Yes. Councilmember Fredericks?
Here.
Councilmember Rounds?
Here?
Councilmember Plaza?
Here.
Councilmember Graham?
Here.
Councilmember Chapman?
Here.
Councilmember Benjamin? Oh, sorry, Councilmember Smith?
Here.
Councilmember Humbert?
Here.
Thank you. Okay, we move on to citizens for communications not on the agenda, and I'd like to remind people that if you're here for the public hearing, you can talk when we get to that point, but this is for items not on the agenda. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to items not on the agenda? Okay. Ms. Keene, state your name and...
I have a whole handful.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Ray Keene. I'm with the Port of Woodland. I'm here on behalf of the Port and the Woodland School District to invite you to two events that we're going to be hosting. First is the Career Exploration, which is for all Woodland High School students. We have this will be our second year in this partnership of the Port and the school district, bringing in regional businesses to our students as part of their career life and preparedness for whatever their decisions are in their workforce plans. Last year, I'll go with the last year first. We had 42 businesses participate. This year, we have 67 businesses that will be attending, anything from airlines all the way down to machinery, down to legal, dentistry, medical, all different types of fields. I did bring a list if you're interested to see the type of companies that we will be providing to the students to do part of their exploration. Each year, the different classes, the freshmen, sophomore, junior, seniors, will be going through in their different in their per their grade, and asking businesses and interviewing the different businesses about their interests. And so they have all these different questions that they have to ask them. They have to shake their hand. They have to introduce themselves. Really just trying to prepare them for what the real world is going to be like. And so we're really excited. We really think that this is a big thing for the community. With having 67 businesses come and participate with our youth is an incredible It's an incredible relationship that we are building with these businesses, that they are giving something back to our youth. I believe Councilwoman Janice Graham attended last year. I invite you all, if you can attend, to stop in between 9 and 12 and just go around and see what some of the great things that are happening with this program. I think we're going to see a huge change with being able to bring in these businesses to come here in Woodland. Is going to help attract industry to our region, more industry, as well as try to give jobs to our local students when they leave high school. So, and these are jobs where, entry level all the way up to professional, and they'll be able to see what they could make if they're just coming out of high school. If they go to a trade school, they get a certificate. If they go to college, how much they could afford. And it's a really important thing as the Woodland High School starts their new endeavor of their CLC program, and the school district isn't here to give a discussion about that. But with this program, it really is about trying to determine what is best for the student if they want to have that kind of debt of going to college, or are they looking at, just going out into the workforce, or can they take advantage of some of our regional education programs from LCC or Clark College. So really enlightening, and I think you'll find a real value if you can attend. From 1 to 4, we are holding our first job fair. And so this is open to the whole community. This is not about the high school students. This is about these companies wanted to, they have a lot of job openings. And we have about 50 of these companies that will be participating in the morning, will be staying, and they will actually be holding interviews on site, taking resumes. So we're really excited because these are a lot of local businesses are really hurting for employees. And, we need to have a ready workforce for the port to attract more businesses. So hopefully, if you know somebody who's looking for a job, or you can get the word out, we would really appreciate it, because the businesses are hurting for employees. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It does sound very interesting. I would like to go, but I'm going to be out of town. But did they advertise the job fair? How did they go about advertising?
So we will be having advertisements in the Columbian, the Daily News, the Reflector will be sending out, there's a news or article that the school district just released about the Woodland Works, so you will see this coming. So you have the postcard. This will be going out, the article, into the local newspapers as well. It'll be on, we're working with our local businesses to get it put on the reader board. We'll be requesting it for like the Chamber, Burgerville, and such, the Chevron, where it grabs people's attention. It'll also be on the reader boards of the schools. So that should be going up about a week before the event. So.
Ms.
We've
Rip
had
has
a poster that's similar to this, front and back, in our window for a couple weeks now. So.
Okay.
And I would like to state that the Woodland City Clerk's Office, and I believe the police and Public Works will be in attendance. So we have a lot of great representation, and we greatly appreciate the support, and the city being in attendance for the second year.
It sounds like a good thing, so.
Yes.
Thank you, Mrs. King.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions? Thank you. Okay. All right, we will move to communications for items on the agenda. No one has signed up, but is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to items on the agenda? Okay. All right, we'll move to agenda approval.
Move to approve the agenda as presented. Move to approve the agenda.
Okay, it's been first and seconded to approve the agenda. Ms. Ripp, would you take the roll?
Councilmember Humbert?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Fredericks?
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds?
Aye.
Councilmember Graham?
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza?
Aye.
At this time, we will move into the public hearing. Ordinance number 1440, review the prohibition of medical marijuana cooperatives and to clarify the existing citywide prohibition on retail sales and related products. So I see that Mr. Lee has signed up to speak to that.
Yeah.
Would you like to state your name and address?
Yeah, my name's, excuse me, Robert Lee, and I live on,
Just 1 second.
Usually we have the department give the presentation first.
Oh, do we?
and then-
Okay.
And then,
you want me to wait?
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
just momentarily.
Just give me,
Just
yeah, I don't,
momentarily.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Thank you.
I've got the cart before the horse there.
That's okay.
Okay.
See, is it under planning commission or city council? And it's the bottom. Yeah.
All right. Good evening, council members. My name is Melissa Johnston. I'm Associate Planner with City of Woodland, and I will be presenting the staff report tonight for Zoning Text Amendment 19-5 and Ordinance 1440. These pertain to retail marijuana and medical marijuana cooperatives. So next. All right, so first a recap on how we got to where we are. Initiative 502 passed in 2012, and this enabled for there to be retail marijuana for those over 21 in the state of Washington, and that's governed under 6950 Revised Code of Washington, and it also allowed for medical marijuana collective gardens, that being for medical marijuana patients. Then in 2016, cooperatives replaced collectives, so they're similar, they're both for medical marijuana patients. So then, next. So a little bit more about what those two are. Retail marijuana, there's two examples there, one in Vancouver, one in Battleground. They're governed by the Liquor and Cannabis Board, and the state sets some rules for them. There's a 1,000-foot buffer for all of these retail locations. Some cities can reduce it to 100 feet for some of those, but not schools, but say a library, you could reduce it to 100 feet. And processors and retail are not allowed in residential zones. And again, customers can be 21 years of age or more. And those are the rules set by the state so far. Next. So for medical marijuana, we started out with collective gardens in 2016. We started out with collective gardens in 2012, then it was repealed in 2016, and now we have the medical marijuana cooperatives. And by the state, that allows for 4 qualifying patients or a provider to band together. At one of their houses, they can grow marijuana up to 60 plants maximum. Everybody that participates needs to have a medical marijuana card. Everybody has to be over 21, and the locations, there are some restrictions on the locations. Again, it has to be at one person's house, yes, and up to 60 plants. Okay, so next. So, it's allowed by the state, but what does this mean for cities? Well, cities can use their zoning to prohibit or allow state-licensed marijuana retail cooperatives, however they wish. So they can choose to allow it in zones or parts of zones. They can set performance standards for it, standards on the signs or the landscaping or the fences. They can allow it as a conditional use if they wish, and cities can also limit the number of retail locations. They can adopt interim zoning, they can adopt moratoriums, and they can prohibit marijuana. Next. Oh, I was curious, it's not on the agenda or the public hearing, but this could be done for vape shops too, if you're concerned about vaping in our community. Okay, next. Okay, here's just some quick examples of what cities have done. There's a map that I pulled from MRSC that shows how cities have responded. The green have used zoning code to allow for retail marijuana or cooperatives. Red have prohibited, and blue have just used their existing zoning codes. And a couple interesting ones that MRC published their code for. Everett and Renton chose to limit retail marijuana to 5 shops in their cities. Shoreline, Newport, Vancouver, and Spokane used zoning to allow for marijuana, and Leavenworth, Paulsbo, Pomeroy, Othello, and Richland prohibited. So next. All right, so what's Woodland's response been? In 2014, we adopted Ordinance 1312, and this allowed for the production and processing of marijuana in industrial areas, only west of the railroad tracks. It also prohibited retail sales in all zones. That's both done by Woodland Municipal Code 1750. Then we also prohibited marijuana collective gardens, and that's in Woodland Municipal Code 1796. So again, in 2016, the state did away with collective gardens, replaced it with cooperatives, and what we did in 2016 was adopt a moratorium on it. And then every 6 months or so, we have to adopt another moratorium. So that spurred the conversation tonight. It's about time to do the moratorium again. So next slide. So instead of continuing the series of moratoriums, the idea is to adopt a new ordinance that will bring all of the marijuana code up to date. And no policy changes have been proposed tonight. And so the end effect will be to continue prohibiting marijuana in Woodland. And it will be done three ways. The first is to, first, it eliminates collective gardens again and prohibits cooperatives in all zones and makes retail prohibition easier to find. So the second and third, that's done by adding language into each of the zoning chapters under the prohibited uses. So again, these are our zoning districts here, and each of these zones has its own uses, its own conditional uses, and its own prohibited uses. So next. And as an example, here is our neighborhood commercial district, and that's a short list of things that are prohibited there. And so on the next one, so drive-in and fast food restaurants are prohibited there. You can't have any motor vehicle service stations. And what we would be doing is adding in marijuana retailers, so it's clear that it's prohibited, and we'd be adding in medical marijuana cooperatives. So also it's clear, because again, these were in different chapters toward the end of the zoning chapters, and harder to find and easier to overlook. So next. So again, it'll be added to, with this ordinance, each of these chapters are floodway, each commercial chapter, each industrial chapter, and we don't really need to tack it on to the residential chapter because there's already a line that says that any use or structure not listed is prohibited. So that's under the prohibited list. That covers the marijuana pretty well, I think. So next. So clarifications for tonight. These are not new policies because the retail has been prohibited all along since 2012. And collective gardens, it's been prohibited, so removing that's not new. And also prohibiting the medical cooperatives is not new because we've had continuing moratoriums about them. Okay. Some questions. I've gotten questions at the planning counter, and I've gotten some phone calls about it, and some citizens have been asking about when retail marijuana or collective gardens would be perhaps available to them. So the answer for the moratorium, when will it be over? Well, it won't really if we adopt it permanently into code or officially into code. People have asked when can they open a retail marijuana store. Same answer for that. I've also been asked when will there be another hearing. So I thought that might be interesting to address. There's no plan for another hearing on this, but when applicants have wanted to change code for their business plans, they have done a zoning text amendment, and the cost of that is $2,500. We had one recently about RV parks, and the applicant wanted to extend the stay from 30 days to much longer, and the compromise was 90 days. And that goes first to the Planning Commission and then to Council. And there's no guarantee on this, but that would be a way to bring it back, to bring the conversation back and have another public hearing like this one. And also, citizens are always welcome to come to Council or Planning Commission and give, and talk about something not on the agenda, and usually you get about 2 minutes for that, but that would be a way to keep a conversation going. And that's all I have prepared for you tonight. Any questions about 1440? Okay.
I've got a copy of this. Is there a way
Sure.
to get a copy of that?
Yes.
Please?
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks.
Okay.
Are there any questions? Okay, thank you. Okay, now, Mr. Lee, we will present you up at the podium and limit your orientation to 5 minutes, please.
Yeah. My name's Robert Lee. I live on 100 Catherine Drive in Woodland. I got a few notes here that I've tried to scratch together. I've lived here for 40-plus years with my family, and my late wife of 40-plus had a beauty shop here, so we know how it is with the businesses. She had the first tanning salon, the first nail salon here, so that was the first for Woodland. Let's see. I've lived here, as most of you that's lived here have seen the card rooms in the back of the taverns years ago when it was illegal, and when we had the opportunity to have our own card rooms, La Center picked them, and they reaped the rewards instead of Woodland. So I would like to see that happen, because now we eventually had our own card room, and Alienate put them out of business, even though we weren't going to have one, but we eventually had it, so it did come to pass. And Woodland could use the revenue created by the sale of medical recreation cannabis. Money for the education's always needed, especially in today's age. A lot of tax dollars could be used for this. On our streets, fencing and just plain old upgrades for the Woodland could benefit from this. And I don't decide where the money is used, but it would be there, and I hope education would be one for the city. There are medical and retail facilities just north of us in Longview, south of us in Vancouver, and their schools are going great. So I can't understand why Woodland wouldn't entertain the idea of some of this money coming to us. And there's also 33 states that have legalized cannabis for medical reasons and 11 for recreational use. Today, the use of cannabis increases 10 to 15% in older Americans, according to a study last year in 2018. And the same study proposed people 50-64, the use tripled, and people 65 and older, it increased tenfold, and that's the people that admit to using it, I don't use it, but just Florida, for example, the highest rate of older Americans, 240,000 medical prescriptions were issued since it was passed in 2017, so, something's going on there. Excuse me. And I would like to open a medical and retail facility in Woodland. I know there is a moratorium on the cannabis business in Woodland. At this time, I would like to work with the city on this. And I know this will not happen today, tomorrow, or soon. I just want to start the process. We need to work together on this issue. I see La Center again jumping ahead and Woodland following behind. In closing, doing my schoolwork. This feels like prohibition again, and the same with alcohol. It is well regulated. I would like to thank you for your time listening to me, and I hope we can work together on this. Medical and retail cannabis is all around us and growing. Speaking of growing, I think Woodland has our first grow operation too, from what I hear. I don't know for sure, but I heard that they have some grow place someplace. I don't know, but I did hear some. It's not in the city limits, but I think we do already have a facility. So I'd like to thank you all again, and I guess that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Does
Thank you.
anybody have any questions, Mr. Lee? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we will go out of public hearing, and we will go to reports of city council. Did anyone do anything this past week? Well, I went with Mrs. Graham to the ribbon cutting for the corner store on Saturday. It was very well attended and a very nice little store. They've got lots of items there, so somebody that's looking to whip in and grab something on their way home, it's a great place to do it. And I think they plan on expanding even to more items. If you don't have time to cook or whatever, you can grab a roast and all the fixings and everything else. So it's a nice addition, I think, to Woodland. So, do you have anything to add to that, Ms.
Oh,
Graham?
no, not right now. I was going to add that to the chamber report too, so,
Okay.
you know.
Okay. Anyone else attend anything they wanted to talk about?
Mine are all in here.
Okay.
so.
No? Okay.
How about the ribbon cutting by the bank and stuff?
Oh, you mean the after hours?
After hours, that's
Okay.
what it was.
She'll
It's
probably,
after
Janice
hours.
will
They talked about
probably,
that.
is that in your report for chamber?
Yeah, that was last month already, so.
Oh, okay. Okay, all right.
It
Okay.
went well.
It went well.
All right, we will move on to reports of standing committees. Public Works, I'm going to defer that to Mrs. Coleman. She has a slideshow, surprise slideshow, so I will defer that to her at that time. Public Safety. Who has Public Safety?
I do.
Okay,
There was no formal meeting as we had a lack of a quorum, and our next meeting will be October 21st.
thank you. Human Resources.
That's me.
Okay,
Okay, I was selected as the chair of the committee during the last meeting, so I'll be giving the updates from now on. During the last meeting, we discussed the Teamsters clerical engineering tech grievance, and that's currently being negotiated, hopefully to avoid it going to arbitration. There's an update on the Police Officers Association collective bargaining agreement, and it looks like the city and the guild have reached an agreement. So we're just waiting right now for the contract language to be drafted. Two grievances, a holiday pay grievance and unfair labor practice grievance are being withdrawn if the agreement on the collective bargaining thing goes through. So those are on hold right now. Executive employees, cost of living increases were discussed. As of right now, no decisions have been made on what to do with that. And our next meeting is Tuesday, September 16th at 5:30 here in the council chambers.
thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
Means that we're in October, it can't be September, correct?
Okay, that's a good point. So let's make it October then.
Sorry about that.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay.
Happens when you have two cards.
Okay, we will move on to reports of advisory committees. Chamber of Commerce, Mrs. Graham.
Of course, the chamber meets Tuesday at noon at the Grange Hall, and it is a brown bag lunch, so come and join us there. Up on our website and around, we have applications for Citizen of the Year, Business of the Year, and Employee of the Year. And we hope that people would put in some good names or places or whatever. If you like the bag busboy at the restaurant or the guy that takes your groceries out to their car, write them in. We like to hear about that. And I will update on the after hours at Columbia Bank and Laluska. Apparently it was just announced. It wasn't finalized. Sorry about that, Susan.
That's all right.
It was a lot of fun
Was.
at Columbia Bank and the Laluska together. It was the Give More 24 Day, and Mariah reported that Laluska Foundation was number 21 on the list of, I guess, applicants out of, I think there was probably over 100 or so on that. And she also mentioned something about wanting, notifying nonprofits to come and join that next year. If anybody needs more detail on that, is to contact Mariah Reese with the Laluska Foundation. We also have out flyers for businesses for Halloween to-dos. So if you're going to dress up in your business, please let us know and we'll come around and judge that. And we will also be doing Christmas lights, and those notices will be going out probably somewhere in the near future here after Halloween. Our annual banquet is January the 18th, 2020. We are doing a celebration of business and hopefully to have a lot of fun. We are bringing forth some new ideas. That is at the Heathman Lodge in Vancouver. It starts at 5 o'clock. We had 2 ribbon cuttings this past week, one at the corner store, which is a lovely place to go to, especially if you have need specialty items, like if you gluten-free, that type of thing, and all the vegetables and fruit are organic. And of course, they carry the naughty sourdough bread from Kalama. If anybody hasn't had that yet, get you to have a treat, especially the chocolate stuff. And then we went to the assisted living at the care center. They had done a lot of remodeling and whatnot there, and we went there and reopened their facility. And then we had our elections of officers for next year at our annual meeting last week. I am going to be chamber president. Denise Miller is first vice president. Kendra Larada is second vice president, and Mariah Reese and Chuck Halsig have been added to our board for next year for a 3-year service. And that's it.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions of Ms. Grant? Okay, thank you. Cowlitz-Wahkiakum Council of Governments, Mrs. Humber.
COG. Our meeting was held on Thursday, September 26th. We passed a resolution to continue with the employee health program. We also did a resolution for the Regional Transportation Improvement Program, which will help them continue to help with our transportation in our local area. There was an awesome presentation using GIS to improve our community and how they do it and what it can do and how it can help us and who it's available to. And I know that the City of Woodland has used it, but it was very interesting. There's a new website for the COG, and they gave us a little preview, so that should be live on the 1st. We're working with Pacific County to become part of what we're doing, so it will be Wahkiakum, Cowlitz, and Pacific County if this all comes to fruition, which only helps us get grant monies, because the more that's there, the more they listen and the more money we can get. So that's a good thing as well. Our next meeting is October 24th at noon at the Cowlitz County Event Center.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions of Mrs. Humber? Okay. We'll move on to Downtown Woodland Revitalization.
Our next meeting will be on November 12th. It's a Tuesday at noon at the Grange.
Okay. All right, we will move into reports of city officers. At this time, I would like to announce the Employee of the Year, which is Scott Summers. Employee Longevity Awards, new employee Heather Ferguson, Melissa Johnston, Christopher Moore, Caitlin Michael Bust, and Jason Sanders. 1 year, Tracy Coleman, Travis Goddard, John Jenkins, Bruce Sloniker.
Sure.
Okay.
You got it.
5 year, Jessica Hartman. 10 year, Donnie Connor. 15 year, Rob Blipp. 30 year, Mary Ripp. And 40 years, Dennis Ripp. I'd like to congratulate all those people for being with the city. Thank you for your service. So, press release.
That's what this is.
Okay. City Administrator, we'll move on to his report.
Okay. Usually we present the budget to council, or not present it, but deliver the copy of the budget to council at this meeting. You'll notice you don't have it in front of you right now. we have some delays. We have some auditors on site, state auditors and whatnot. We do plan to have it to you next, for the next meeting, which will be a budget workshop on October 14th. So there might not be a lot of prep time you can put to it, but we'll dive into the explanation and give a presentation to council at that time. Excuse me?
Isn't the 14th a holiday?
Oh.
No?
We don't observe.
Oh, you don't
Okay.
observe it, okay, okay. I know the banks do, but, okay, that's when the city doesn't. Okay.
So that is coming, and I apologize for the delay. Also wanted to note that liquor license renewal for Los Pepes Restaurant at 611 Gorg Street was issued. Upcoming events, we have VFW breakfast, cake breakfast, October 12th on a Saturday, 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. Our WQCC is going to meet on October 16th at 6 p.m. in this room, so please attend. And again, budget workshops October 14th and October 28th. We also have a Planning Commission meeting on the 17th, 7 p.m. in this room. November 4th, public hearing for the property tax levy. November 18th, a public hearing for the 2020 final budget and first reading. November 25th, another budget work session if needed. December 2nd, adopt ordinance for 2020 budget, final reading. And we have up until the end of the calendar year to adopt that budget, so if we need to go a little further, we can. So that's what I have at this time.
Okay. Are there any questions, Mr. Bryce?
Mr. Who?
It's okay.
It's okay.
Okay.
I know we got a couple council members out next Monday to start. Mayor Pro Tem Rounds and myself will not be here. And I don't know if there's others that aren't going to be here, but.
I won't be here.
So there's
Oh,
three.
Susan.
Well, maybe we could, if it's okay with council, we could postpone that meeting on the 14th and then deliver the budget on the 14th, but put it off until the next meeting. We could.
I think that's a really good idea.
If we have 3 council members missing, that will be a little tough.
What's the agenda look like for the 21st?
Right now, it's fairly light, so we could add a budget workshop to that meeting.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay.
After we do both.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Thank you. We'll move on to city attorney.
I have nothing to report, Matt.
Thank you. Clerk treasurer.
So, we've kind of had 3 main things we've been working on about the last month or so, and that is our audit of our 2018 financials and our accountability audit. They're actually planning on wrapping up tomorrow and meeting with us in the afternoon tomorrow just to go over some of their notes. We've been working on the 2020 budget prep, and along with that, the OpenGov budgeting suite. We've gone through, verified all our chart of accounts, and they've actually performed training on the module with myself, and our next is to get with the department heads very soon. Some other things we work on, we do have utility bill shutoffs tomorrow, which is Tuesday, October 8th. Late notices were sent as well as the shutoff notices. Summer training attended by myself and staff. Clerk Hartman and I attended the FEMA disaster reporting. They have some new things, and they have some new modules they're rolling out. One of the things we took away from that is they have a shortage of employment for their disaster relief teams, and so they're moving to this new portal system, which is actually housed in California. And they're encouraging all entities to go out and pre-register and put documents out there that they may need in the event of an emergency or disaster, so you're not doing those at the last minute, and they can review those. So we'll be doing some of that, hopefully proactively. And then they have some new forms and stuff that they've also are doing. I'm hoping we don't ever have to use that, but you never know when we may have to. I've also worked some time on setting up the Public Records Act training and open public meetings, which some of you attended tonight. And Planning Commission will be presenting that at one of their future meetings too. We are rolling out a new logo as directed by Mayor Finn. And so you'll be seeing that coming to your email shortly. You've seen it on some of the apparel in the past, I think, year or so. Public Works has used some of that. We've spent a lot of time on our Employee Recognition Program event, which we held on September 25th that Councilmember Rounds announced the names of. And then we are also going to be attending the Woodland Works that Jennifer Ray King announced. So those are some of our highlights.
Thank you. Are there any questions, Ms. Ripp?
The logo, is that going to be something that comes before council in an open public meeting, or how does that work? Tell me a little bit about that.
Historically, the council has not adopted the logo, so it's been an executive call.
The reason I ask is because we used to have a city council member who sat on this dais, on this board, who was very concerned about the logo. And so I'm just asking if it's an executive decision.
We're not spending money on redoing it. As we replace stuff, it will be implemented, but it will be on our stationery and on our website and things like that, where it doesn't cost a lot of money to replace it.
Okay.
Yeah. So there won't be any huge expense or anything. As we move forward and order items, then we will be phasing that in.
Sure.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Ripp. Police.
September wasn't a very busy month for us. However, we did a few good things. Officer Palmquist and I met with a member of CDTC's TAC, they're one of their tactical officers that handles student officers at the academy. They covered a few things of concern that some of the new recruits are coming out with either excelling in this training and lacking in this training. So we kind of, everybody got on the same page. There were several departments that were represented at this meeting. I think it was very productive. Mrs. Connor continues to do great things with the Safe Kids program, as well as the car seat technician program that we have in the county. There was a couple of 9/11 ceremonies that we attended. One at the Cowlitz 2 Fire and Rescue, and then the United Way rally happened to coincide with 9/11, and so it was a pretty big deal at the Cowlitz County Fairgrounds. And it was a volunteering season kickoff for the United Way. It was a pretty good turnout. I also attended the Chaplaincy Open House and the kickoff for their Give More 24 campaign, and that's on their website if you want to donate to the chaplaincy. Also helped out with the safety summit here for the Washington cities, and Tracy asked me to sit in on that. That was kind of fun. Mrs. Connor went to the LIRA conference in Walla Walla in maintenance of her certification, as well as Ms. Heiler went to the Spillman conference in Salt Lake City, also part of her certifications. Other than that, I'm sure you've seen the officers around town, and they continue to do good things for your city. And I apologize for my dress today, but we had qualification. So that's it.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions? Okay. All right, we'll move on to fire, but Mr. Jackson's not here, so we'll skip that and move on to community development.
I was inspired by Tracy, so I put together some slides. I was jealous.
You're stealing her thunder.
I was going to call something on it, but I'm just, yeah, that's just not fair.
I was inspired.
My thunder!
Calm down, I'm not going to do any slides, so don't worry about it.
Let's see, so I've been on my own last week. Travis is out and Janice was out. They're spending time with family. And then Janice will be back out at the end of the week. She's going up to Leavenworth for training on Vision software. That's the software we run all of our permits through. Let's see, so here's what's been going on. Building-wise, we've got a residential unit going in on 3rd Court. That's by the retirement center. And if you hit enter, I think the picture will come up there. Yeah, so there's the map of where it's at. That's right along Horseshoe Lake. And if you hit one more time, and another time, then that's today, so it's already going up. And then there's a couple of townhouses going in, 4 townhouses going in right now at Sequoia Park, Loganberry. So if you advance again, it'll show where that is. That's up off of Lewis River Road. Commercial-wise, we don't have any permits in building right now, but Red Leaf is in review, and Dutch Brothers is up. Maybe you've been by. Has anyone been to the new Dutch Brothers? Yeah? A couple people? Okay. Right now, they have a temporary certificate of occupancy. They're working on getting their official occupancy. Let's see. There'll be a few more units going in on 3rd Court, another house on Dunham, and then 4 more units going in at Sequoia Park. Okay, so next. Land use. We recently approved a site plan for Carpenito Brothers, and that is about a 40-acre industrial park, and zoning-wise, it's faint. There's an orange outline there. It's on Garrick and Caples. West of town, so they recently got their approval and several conditions attached to that site plan. Also, the school district is expanding their parking lot. That's off of Fraser, so if you advance, we'll go to the next one. They're decommissioning oil tanks. They'll be building a new fueling area there and expanding the parking lot. That's off of Fraser there. Okay, so let's see. Then Arco. We are reviewing their site plan right now. Red Leaf also reviewing their site plan still. The cell tower, there's a new cell tower that's planned to go in at Burris Creek Mini Storage, and if you advance a couple times, we'll come up to that zoning map. Yeah, there it is.
Oh, that was it?
Yeah. So that's off of Robinson, and they were meant to have a public hearing last month, but they weren't quite ready, so we've postponed. There will be probably, if they get all of their materials in, there should be a hearing examiner hearing the case next month. And the CPU, maybe you've heard, they've proposed putting a pipe underneath the Lewis River to tap into the water supply at Misty Court. And they just had their public hearing about that. And there were some neighbors there who expressed concern about the project and whether or not their water pressure would be lowered and if their rates might increase. So we talked through those particular concerns didn't pertain to land use exactly. So land use-wise, the hearing examiner has approved the project, but there could still be some upcoming negotiations regarding Clark Public Utilities' contract with the city and their use of the water. Right now, it's planned just for the water to be used at night, and it'll fill up a reservoir for the Clark Public Utility customers, so it shouldn't affect their water pressure or water availability. All right, let's see what's next. Oh, that's where the Misty Court is. There, okay. All right, code enforcement-wise, we are collaborating with the police department. I think it's pretty well known that there is someone's truck and pallets at the Oak Tree, so this is ongoing, and we're working with the property owner. There's been some industrial noise complaints. There was a complaint about parking in fire lanes, and La Casa de San Juan Diego was really prompt in responding to that. An issue of vegetation on Park Street, and they got a notice and order recently. We're seeing about 40 to 90 cases per quarter, and it is a complaint-driven system, so we only address if a neighbor or somebody concerned in the community has filed a complaint with the city. All right, here's what the Planning Commission's up to. We'll meet on the 17th. We meet on third Thursdays at 7 p.m. You're always welcome to come. You might enjoy the next meeting because we're having a guest presentation right at the beginning by Kittleson and Associates.
So maybe I'll try to make it if I can.
Yeah.